Ladies and gentlemen, our next panel is From Deployment to Employment, Reintegrating Veterans into Civilian Life. Please welcome our panelists from the Independence Fund, ShoeBob Carey, a member of the Benghazi Annex security team, Mark Oz Geist, the chair of the House Republican Conference, Cathy McMorris-Rodgers, and retired Staff Sergeant Travis Mills. Our panel is moderated by The Washington Times' David Sands.
They kind of did this backwards.
Yeah. You get it?
Yeah. I don't know. Sit right there. We'll just make it work.
I think you're first.
We're good, right?
Yeah.
Don't turn around. If I can have your attention up here for a second, I'm Bob Carey, Navy veteran and Director of Policy and Advocacy for the Independence Fund, probably the largest veteran service organization you've never heard of. We provide adaptive mobility equipment for catastrophically wounded and disabled veterans. Over the last 10 years, we provided over $50 million worth of that equipment, as well as hosting over 150 caregiver summits for the caregivers of the catastrophically wounded and disabled. I don't know if it's coming along. If you can bring over the chair. Well, we're going to be making a chair presentation today. Right over here. And you may be able to see it on the camera right there. These are one of these chairs, these tracked wheelchairs, basically a wheelchair tank that allows people to be able to disabled veterans to be able to get their legs back, as it were, go into the woods, go into playgrounds, go off road in order to be able to have a better life for themselves and for their family. We have with us today Colonel Ted Yamashita, U.S. Army retired, served 3 tours in Vietnam, commanded 2 companies while he was there, and was awarded the Silver Star. As has happened with many veterans in the Vietnam era, he was exposed to multiple times to Agent Orange, and many years later, he developed ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. We're going to be awarding this chair today to Colonel Yamashita in honor of his service, in honor of his steadfast devotion to his country, and on behalf of a grateful nation, sir, we present this chair to you.
Thank you very much. I have many thoughts about when I came here, was asked to come. You know, my world changed when I was diagnosed. I used to jog and fish in the mountains and garden, and I'm going to say I can't really do that now. I can't, my legs don't work. Everything else works okay, but my legs don't work. I have to take a sidetrack here just for a second. I am receiving excellent support from the Veterans Administration. That starts with the headquarters part, the part you normally think of as pretty bureaucratic, but it works. And the special adaptive housing equipment that was installed in our house works great, and the system is fine. What I really want to talk about, though, is the medical help, the medical assistance being provided by the VA Medical Center here in Washington, D.C. It is absolutely superb, headed by Dr. Balish, who leads a team of ALS specialists who help me. They really do help. What's happened is that group has said to me, Ted, you need to do things that you enjoy, will make you feel good. I said, well, I can't, because I can't walk and I can't go fishing and whatever. Well, what happened is, about that same time, I discovered the track chair, that device sitting right down there that will allow me to go into the woods and into the shooting range, and maybe even to go fishing. I don't know if it'll climb up and down the Shenandoahs like I like to do, but we'll see. And it really is going to make a difference in my quality of life. That's what the VA clinic advised me to do. Do things you enjoy and that make you feel good. And so it's a big deal. I hate taking things, but something like this is really going to help me. And so to the Independence Fund and to all of you, I say thank you very much.
Well, let me start things off. Thank you, everybody, for coming out on a Saturday morning. We're thrilled for the turnout here. My name is David Sands with the Washington Times. We're here to discuss the question of deployment to employment. I'll start with a little good news. The Labor Department just reported the unemployment rate for all veterans in the United States in January was 4%, which is actually lower than the overall national unemployment rate. But we all know many challenges remain. There's underemployment, there's health care questions, education, emotional support, questions on the performance of the VA. But luckily we have an incredibly distinguished panel here today to talk about, who's dealt with these issues both personally and professionally. You just met Mr. Carey there, Mark Oz Geist, an ex-Marine who worked on counterterrorism and intelligence issues during his time in the Corps. Went into private law enforcement, wrote a little best-selling book you might have heard about called 13 Hours about his experiences in the 2012 Benghazi attack. And has created the Shadow Warriors Project. It's a unique charity dedicated to the support of private military security contractors operating in some of the world's most dangerous places. To my left here immediately is a retired Army Staff Sergeant Travis Mills.
What's up, you winners? Sorry.
Who has dealt with some pretty nasty injuries suffered from an IED on his third deployment to Afghanistan 6 years ago. Has gone on to found the Travis Mills Foundation to benefit other combat-injured vets, as well as a consulting firm for organizations and companies looking to aid wounded vets. And speaking last will be Representative Cathy McMorris-Rodgers. She's a 7-term Republican from the 5th District in Eastern Washington State, and chair of the House Republican Conference, which makes her the highest-ranking Republican woman in Congress. In addition to a number of personal and professional barriers she has broken, Ms. Rodgers has been a leading voice for VA reform on Capitol Hill, and she shares her home with another distinguished retired veteran, her husband, retired Navy Commander Brian Rodgers. We've asked each panelist to speak for 5 minutes on their personal experiences and what they think can help to help veterans transition better here. My one job is to keep everybody to a 5-minute limit, and I happen to be the chess columnist at the Washington Times, so I brought my chess clock here. And if your flag falls, you're forfeited, so we don't want that. So I'm going to open it up to Mr. Carey to start. 5 minutes. You're on the clock, sir.
Thank you very much. Well, I'll try to make it less than that since I already got some great time, and thank you very much for that opportunity. What I found, we talk about the overall unemployment rate for veterans, and there's been a lot of great work by American corporations to really look to hire veterans. What I hear is still an issue, though, is the retention of veterans. They'll get an initial job, but it will not be a good fit. And so they won't be, so a lot of veterans do not stay in those jobs for those first years. I think that's one of the areas that we really need to work in order to be able to help veterans keep and maintain those jobs, is get them into the right area. Because a lot of corporations just don't understand how good that military experience relates to employment. These people know how to lead small teams, they are mission-oriented, and they're willing to sacrifice in order to be able to get it done. And you don't find that all the time, especially in that younger population. And so that's one of the things I think we also need to get out there in order to be able to talk about that. Now, the Department of Labor has just started a new program, which if any of your employers, you might want to look at. It's called their Department of Labor Veterans Education and Training Medallion symbol. It's going to be like a good housekeeping symbol for companies that hire veterans. And you can apply for it, and it's open right now on their website. You can apply for it, and basically if you are hiring about 7 to 10% of your employees as veterans, and you have some programs to help them out, you'll be able to get that gold or platinum medallion, that sort of good housekeeping seal of approval from the Department of Labor. So I encourage you to do that, because then veterans will know that you are actively looking to help with the veteran employment. The last thing I worry about is when you get out, you're used to having military care, which is sort of ubiquitous. You don't really worry about when your military care is going to be next. You just go down to the military treatment facility, or you go to the unit corpsman and you get it taken care of. I fear that a lot of veterans will take jobs that are not optimal for them because they're looking for health insurance, especially if they don't believe that the VA healthcare system will take care of them. And one of the things the Independence Fund has been working a lot on is reforming the VA healthcare system. The bottom line is that we hear over and over again, and we help predominantly catastrophically wounded veterans, and our executive director is a caregiver for a catastrophically wounded veteran, as well as our director of programs. But what we hear over and over is that once they get in and they get that medical care, the medical care providers are awesome. But there is this layer of medical bureaucratic administration that systematically and inherently blocks veterans' access to that care, predominantly in order to be able to either reduce cost or prevent some fear of fraud, which don't exist, really. These people serve honorably, and now we're worried that they're going to defraud the government. I think that's a little bit rich. So what we're really pushing for is to expand choice for veterans. And we think that if we expand choice for veterans so they can choose their own health care policy, just like the president promised. The president said, his 10th point of his 10-point plan, every veteran will be able to choose their health care provider, whether it's in the VA or outside the VA, and the VA will pay for it, period. We support that. Now, there's a big debate going on. There's a big debate going on in Congress right now about what that's going to look like. I recommend you go to www.realvachoice.org. That's our website. You can sign a letter to the president telling him to hang strong and make sure that Congress delivers real VA choice for veterans. And that's going to help them get their jobs, because they're not going to have to take a suboptimal job just to be able to get health insurance. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Geist, you're on the clock.
And kind of following along what Bob was saying is what we see out there in the civilian sector is skilled labor versus available people that have that skilled labor for what businesses are looking for. And I go into the same thing with what's coming out of the military. You got guys coming out of there that have led men in combat, that have taken care of their lives. As an E4, an E5, or a platoon commander, you're in charge of the basic care and welfare of your platoon or your squad or your fire team. And they have that discipline to be to work on time. They have those skills that you really can't teach except through that military experience. And the other thing they come out with is that GI Bill. I mean, if I've got a guy coming to my business and he's coming out as a veteran, he's got the leadership, he's got the discipline to be there on time, and also he has a GI Bill that is pretty broad in what he can do. So I can get him to be trained in the education side of things for that job as you see fit for your business. I mean, you can mold that person and make him a long-term player and keep that, and mold that position to where he's going to be there for the next 10 years because they have that dedication and discipline to stay with the company. They want to be part of something bigger and better than that. And those are some of the big things you see, not only in here in America that they're struggling with, but even in the UK, they're running into the same thing with their veterans. And as for choice with the VA, we as veterans have to get out there and vote. I mean, we have to get registered. We have to get involved because if, there's 20 million veterans in this country. 2 to 3 people in every veteran's family votes the same way as they do. You're talking a block of voters that's 60 million people. Which candidate wants those? Exactly. They want them, right? Well, we need to be involved because veterans can fix veterans' issues. We're used to fixing things. Let's get involved and keep that involved.
Get them to run.
We're facing issues today. As the president said, we need to harden our schools. I would personally take responsibility in finding the right veterans, getting them trained, and having them in every school across this nation in the next 6 to 9 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Travis, before I introduce you, I meant to mention, if you're interested in Travis' story, he wrote a best-selling book called Tough as They Come, which I highly recommend. Travis?
I made it up, but it's cool.
I heard that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? How you guys doing? All right. Thank you for having me. I'm Travis Mills, and I'm going to be a little bit honest with you. I'm a little nervous up here. I just hope I don't bomb this, because last time. Yeah.
It took you guys. You guys are a little slow this morning. Get your coffee. Come on.
I tell jokes to disarm the situation. Yeah. And thank you. I love you too. And right up front, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be honest with you. There's two things you need to know before I get started. Number one, I'm awesome. And yeah. And number two, I'm humble. In that order. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think the biggest problem is what we always face. Show of hands, who's married? All right, show of hands who used to be married, and show of hands who's going to get married. Probably everybody raise their hand now. Communication. I think the biggest problem facing our veterans today when they get out of the military is communication breakdown. There are so many wonderful people like on the stage that are out there fighting every day for veterans issues and veterans job placement and health care and benefits, and things get passed. But that information doesn't get disseminated down to the troops, if you will. So I think that the GI Bill, people think it pays for just college. No, it'll pay for a trade school. It'll pay for you to get your CDL, so you can go drive trucks. I'm close friends with Mike Rowe, so I love the stuff he's doing. And I think that you need to have the veterans that get out understand the opportunities that they do have in front of them. Now, a lot of it, to be honest, it's not just what you know, it's who you know. So I've been able to help my friends and people that reach out to us get them placed in at least interviews. And I encourage anybody that has somebody that's looking for a job to reach out. I mean, I'm a motivational speaker. I travel this nation, talk to big companies. And if there's a good fit for a company, I don't mind asking a favor. So a lot of it's about who you know. But I think that with the communication and understanding what benefits are out there is what really will drive veterans to get put in jobs and put in career fields that they'll be sustaining in. Because like you said, people get in jobs and they hate it. And they want to change that. So to find out what their drive, their purpose, and what their passion is, it's all about communication and finding how we can get them in those jobs. Now, on top of that, I've seen a lot of you ladies checking my legs out. I'm married, so it can't happen. And to answer everybody's question, still got it, still works. My wife and I just had, my wife and I had our second child. We named him after the two medics saved my life. His name's Dax, so thank you. Thank you. But as far as the nonprofits out there, like Independence Fund, they did help me, all right? I do have a track share. We have a nonprofit in Maine that you guys saw a little video on. We bring up combat injured veterans and get them out there doing things. We helped 88 families last year, and we built their confidence. We let them know, hey, look, you're not alone. There's a network of people out there like you, and we want to say thank you to you and your family and give them a place where they can feel barricade-free, be able to do things like kayak and go tubing and go on a horse and do archery and let them know there's people out there like you that you can reach out to. And it's all about instilling confidence. And I think that's true for what the foundation that I run is, because it's all veterans that have been combat injured or they've been through service-connected injuries with spinal cord injury, paralyzation, or amputation, such as myself. But you know what? There's veterans out there that also need that little boost. They need an obstacle in front of them. I think that what I push is always a hand up, not a handout, because you don't want it. Thank you. Yeah. I don't, personally, basic training was a struggle. It was an obstacle in front of me I had to overcome. So I think these veterans, when they get out, they don't just want you to hand them something. Some of them might say that, but they want an obstacle in front of them. They want a challenge. They want to be driven. And you know what? The Army gave me purpose and direction. And I think that's what we need to give these veterans that get out, is a purpose and direction and a goal in their mind and to keep pushing forward to. So as long as there's communication, with the VAs, which are doing a great job now, my VA in Togus, Maine is beautiful, and they're wonderful people, but they are willing to help me. And as long as we get the staff that I have at my VA, at all the VAs across the nation, when new veterans come in, we can point them in the right direction. We can give them that hand up, not a handout, and we can help them find a career that will be long-lasting and something that they want to sustain for at least 30, maybe 40 years. But besides for that, you guys can ask me questions after this. I'm a pretty open book. It's called Tough as They Come, no big deal. No, you didn't. I appreciate that. And on Netflix, I got a documentary. If you guys got your phones out real quick, do me a favor. type in SSG Travis Mills in the search bar, like and share my page with all your friends. I'm trying to build a TV show with Mike Rowe, and I want to be the next Duck Dynasty, and you guys are going to help me. Besides for that, you winners, I'm excited. I'm going to turn it over because there's people in this room that outrank me, so I better just be sitting over here. But thank you for your time. I'm excited.
Congressman?
Okay.
Now you get to
Well,
follow
boy,
that.
what an honor to be on the stage with these American heroes. It's pretty humbling for me.
Thank you.
And not only did they serve, but they continue to serve. Their commitment to our veterans, to all who have served. Yes, the VA does a lot right, but we still have work to do to make sure that the VA is rolling out the red carpet when someone contacts the VA. And I just appreciate their ongoing commitment to that effort. You know, for America to be a diplomatic power, America must be a military power. To be a military power, you have to be an economic power. So it's all connected. And that's part of what this panel is all about today. So I greatly appreciate President Trump's leadership on getting our economy growing. Proud of the fact that we did get the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed in Congress, because every job out there for them is an opportunity, and it's an opportunity for a veteran who may also need that job when they come home. We want to make that transition as smooth as we possibly can. And a way that a grateful nation shows its gratitude to those who've served is, yes, getting them the care that they need. Some that go to the VA, we need to continue to make sure that the VA is front and center on rolling out that red carpet, but also getting them into the workforce. And it's been highlighted, so many who have served have amazing skills and leadership qualities that we want in our economy. And we got to make that a smoother transition. Part of it was getting our economy growing. Back in 2010, you can imagine if you were serving in Iraq, coming home, unemployment is 10% for our veterans. It could be pretty demoralizing. Here you were just in a situation with a purpose, a mission, and then you come home and you find yourself unemployed, trying to get your feet under you and get a life going here domestically. That's why getting our economy growing is so important, and I'm proud of our commitment to that, the President's leadership, getting the jobs bill passed and tax cuts, tax relief. We're hearing stories every day all across the country. Companies that are bringing jobs home, people that have more take-home pay. There's great stories. I won't share them right now because I know we're running out of time. But I also wanted to just talk about the VA a little bit. And I am committed to making sure, on behalf of all who have served, that when someone contacts the VA, they don't feel like they're a burden. And there's a lot of great people that work at the VA, but still working through that initial contact is much harder than it needs to be. A couple of years ago, the country was outraged after it heard about the Phoenix VA, where veterans had died waiting to get an appointment. And I was, there's a lot of off-the-shelf technology that's out there. I had the opportunity to meet ZocDoc, which is just one. If you haven't, I was going to show you real quick, but all you got to do is plug in your insurance, where you are, what kind of an appointment, and up pops all the available appointments, right? On average, 24 hours, they're able to book appointments, 5 million. I approached the VA, yes, and veterans were a part of putting this together. I approached the VA and suggested to them, let's use some off-the-shelf technology like ZocDoc or some other off-the-shelf technology. Of course, they had a different approach. They had to explain that they wanted to develop it internally. $575 million. They thought they could get it done in 7 years. Yes, there's a better way. And unfortunately, we had to introduce legislation to mandate that they use just off-the-shelf technology. I guess we got to just get focused on mission here. The mission of the Veterans Administration is the veteran. And restoring trust starts with that initial contact. So I'm proud of the work that we've done, the Veterans Accountability Act, we're working on Veterans Choice, getting the veterans back at the forefront of the Veterans Administration, and this has been President Trump's commitment from the very beginning. And it is a priority for us to get it done and make sure that our veterans, on behalf of a grateful nation, know that we appreciate their service. So it's great to be with all of you today.
Thank you, everybody. I think I'd like to take advantage of kind of the diversity of our panel here, because we have the Navy, the Army, and the Marines all represented, and a spouse of a veteran as well. But if you could share, perhaps in the remaining 5 minutes we have here, kind of your personal experience. What's the one thing from your deployment to employment transition that you learned, that you wish you knew, that you know now, that you think is really important for the people making that transition now, or helping somebody make that transition?
Go ahead. I know you don't have a problem talking.
Heck no, that's what I do for a living.
The guy with the legs is going to start.
I can't wait to tell my high school teachers I get paid to talk now. I just, Actually, there's only just one. There's only one I can't wait to tell, but I'm going to rub it.
Today?
Oh, not today. Anyway, so, okay, the one thing I've told people through this whole situation is actually two, the life lessons I've learned. The first thing I've learned after I got blown up was I can't always affect my situation, but I can always affect my attitude. So when I have a bad day, I'm just like, it's my choice to have a bad day. And on the second deployment I went on, this got hit on my third deployment. My second deployment, I had a day where a 5-hour mission turned into a 36-hour mission, and everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And it was like 36 hours. It was an awful day, well, day and a half, and everything like boiled up where you're either going to laugh or cry. And I decided I was going to, laugh, because at 3 years old, I took a spoon and took my tear ducts out because I didn't need them anymore because I'm a man. And yeah.
I agree. Why didn't you join the Marine Corps?
Because they don't have bonuses.
Oh, okay.
I went to the recruiter, and he's like, you want to join the Marines? I'm like, tell me about it, bro. He's like, give me all this crap. And I was like, what's your bonus? There's no money there. Who would want to go there? Anyway.
Best looking uniforms.
Oh, sweet. Good for you. Eat crayons.
Lessons learned here.
So, the most important thing that I've learned through my military career since that day was always just roll with the punches. Keep your head up, and it's up to you how you deal with things. When I got blown up, it was pretty easy for me to recover because, you know what, I had my wife, I had my daughter who was 6 months old, and when I told them to leave, they stayed, and I learned how to walk with my daughter. So if I can take anything away from my military experience, it was that I had my support system, and I was able to keep my head up because I had horrible days in Afghanistan, and that made it for me. So always keep your head up, never give up, never quit is my slogan. You guys can use that, and I'm going to pass it off.
Thank you. You know, I've made a couple different transitions. I got out of the Marine Corps in 1996, and that transition then was, they didn't have the things in place that they do now for the guys coming out. My transition, I went from being in the Marine Corps, I drove across the country. 24 hours later, I was in the police academy getting ready to start a whole new career. So for me personally on that one, it worked well. But, that kind of like Travis, that transition after going from contracting and that steady job, what I thought I was going to do for the next 5-6 years, at least was getting injured. Now trying to figure out what I'm going to do next in my life. And the biggest thing is, and I got to just go along with what Travis said, you got to have that positive attitude. You got to keep that attitude that got you through those days in the military and reach out to the resources that are there. And there's resources, there's nonprofits that are there to help every veteran. There's tons of them. All you got to do is ask, and there's somebody there that's going to provide you a little bit of help and a little bit of guidance. Don't be afraid to ask, and don't be too proud to ask for anything.
And I think as Americans that are grateful to those who have served and perhaps those that suffer injuries and have disabilities, I think it's up to each one of us to make sure that we're focusing on the ability. Yes, they may have some challenges moving forward, but it's up to us to let's make sure that we support them and we focus on what they have to offer. And let's, as business owners, as employers, as a society, let's make sure that we're continuing to celebrate what they have done and what they can continue to offer. And sometimes it might mean a few accommodations, support services for them, but at the end of the day, they still have a lot to offer us. And we need to make sure that we stay focused on that and stay focused on the purpose. And a job is so much more than a paycheck. It's what gives you purpose and dignity, and that's why it is important that we get them the jobs whenever we possibly can.
I'll give you a hand.
I just say, dream big, but be persistent. When I got out in '95, I really wanted to go work in Congress, and everyone was saying, you know, that's too difficult of a transition. You didn't work a campaign, you didn't work legislative affairs for the Navy. You're not going to be able to do it. Well, I sent over 150 resumes to all these different congressional offices and committees, and I got that job. And because of that, I was able to continue to think big and dream big, and had awesome opportunities for the next 30 years. But if I had listened to the naysayers initially when I was getting out, I probably wouldn't have dreamt big, and I probably wouldn't have had those opportunities. So people really want to hire veterans now. Take advantage of that, leverage that, use it to your advantage, and don't dismiss your dreams.
Yes.
Nice.
And can I just quickly say we need more veterans working on Capitol Hill. We need more veterans running for office. So there's a lot that veterans we need in our country.
Well, the old chess clock on the wall says we are completely out of time. Everybody was very disciplined in their presentations. I want to thank you all. It was an honor for me, actually, to hear some of these stories and to learn a few things. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.